The AsIs Podcast does not necessarily hold the views or opinions of our guests. The guests have a right to express their own thoughts, and those thoughts are protected with their freedom of speech. What they say is what they say, and we allow them the right to speak on their own behalf. The AsIs Podcast is not responsible nor liable for the opinions and stories of others. Welcome to another edition of the AsIs Podcast. Today's special guest is Amina Diop. Amina, you there?
I am. What's up, bro?
I know you, man. You know what? I like to be honest with my audience, and just for a side note on the record, we were 6 minutes into the interview and I realized I did not press record. So it just goes to show you that I fuck up sometimes too. So I'm glad that, hey, you know, it is what it is. I'm not going to try to front to be something that I'm not. I'm just getting into this game the way it's supposed to be gotten into, and I make mistakes. So I'm thankful that you're patient with me. So let me get into this and ask you, how did you start off in this business?
Started off in the business doing an internship at Spear Records, which was run by Shakespeare, who's a Grammy Award-winning producer. And it was under Arista, the Arista umbrella. I interned in my junior year of college at Georgia State under a lady named Tasha Stafford.
Okay.
That's why I first got in.
You know, I've done a little homework on you, and I read an interesting article. And in your description, it says you are the founder of the Diop Agency, and the Diop represents Gucci Mane, Pee Wee the Long Way, Tommy Lee, Band Hunter Izzy, Black Way, and others. I know in addition to that, you have Young Thug. Do you have Uzi Vert as well?
Yeah, I'm Uzi. I co-manage Uzi with Roc Nation.
Wow. You know what? That is huge. Like, I think that is huge. In addition to you doing what you do, you're in co-partnership with Roc Nation?
Yeah.
Wow.
We co-manage Uzi together.
So tell me, like, what is that experience like?
Working with Roc Nation?
Yeah.
I'm a New Yorker, so like I don't know if it's every New Yorker's dream, but like me growing up in my time, Jay is definitely an icon. So getting to work with his company under Desiree Perez is fantastic. It definitely was a dream to just be associated or affiliated.
Right.
So yeah, that's dope. Again, I don't work for Roc Nation. We're just partners on Uzi.
And you know what? That speaks for itself. I think that speaks loud and clear. And I like the emphasis on you don't work for them. You work in conjunction with them because you have your own.
Right.
And I think that's something that's special about New Yorkers. What is it about a New Yorker hustle that is different than others?
The New York what?
What is so special about a New York hustler that is different from others? Because, you know, you're working with Roc Nation and still being independent and owning your own company is tremendous. It's large. So what do you think it is, the characteristics of a New Yorker that allows you to have that drive and motivation?
I think that we had no choice. Like New York is just overcrowded, fucking oversaturated. It's kind of like if you don't stand up and be noticed, you won't be noticed. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Even people that aren't like super successful on whatever American standards or industry standards or whatever, they'll never sink. You know what I mean? Because like that's why that saying is, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. It's true. Because like you may not have the best accommodations, you know what I'm saying? You might have like a basement apartment and blah, 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 but that basement apartment might run you almost 2 Gs, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you're still like making it work, or waking up, taking the bus to work or school or doing whatever, you just have to make it. And the city never sleeps. You're up, you're hustling, you're bustling, you're moving. You know, one thing I love about New York, though, New York is a place where it's still like, there's still mom and pop shops. Like people still just pop up on people. You know what I mean? Like just pull up at your office or meet me at this cafe. Like New York still has a romantic vibe to it where it's like personal. It's not so email, Zoom call, stuff like that. So
yeah, definitely.
That's something I love about it.
And I think your hustle is a testament to that, which brings me to this. I know initially when I first met you, you were managing models. Some of the models that you managed were people like Buffie The Body. Who else was it?
I had Buffy, Hoopz, Rosa Acosta, Malaya Michelle, Brooke Bailey. There's a bunch of girls. Kat, Nikki Sweets. I had a bunch of girls working.
One of the most famous ones was Buffy. Where is Buffy today?
Buffy's still in the Carolinas. She's married. She's traveling the world. She has an awesome brand called Brick Built, where she has furniture, paintings, women's clothing, shower curtains, like basically anything you can think of in textile, furniture, clothing, workout equipment, workout tapes, and all of that stuff. Like she's doing fantastic.
What about Malaya?
I haven't spoken to Malaya in quite some time. Last I heard, she was in California, though.
Okay.
Last I heard, I haven't spoken to her.
So she's not dancing anymore?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, from the model game, you got into the music game. And you got into the music game in a major way. Some of your clients are definitely A-listers. What does that feel like? What does it feel like for a Black woman to come home, lay down in the bed, and know that she's left a mark? Is it something that you actually pictured in your mind at one time, or did it just happen?
No, I don't think so. Like that was like really, that wasn't that wasn't the focus. Like that wasn't like a dream of mine. Like, oh, I just want to make it big in music. Not really. Honestly, it started out with me, reaching out to Gucci to help him when he was kind of in between situations, but we were already friends at that time. And I think he was locked up at the time. And I reached out to him and was like, yo, when you come home, I want to delve into that. It's just the modeling game was changing. So I was like, all right, you have to pivot with it. So I was like, you know what? Let me try my hand at working with an artist that I know at that. So I saw gaps, like things that he could use help with. And, I offered to do that. And it went from there. So it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? It was more of that type of situation. It wasn't.
I get it. I think that's kind of like you took advantage of an opportunity, and I understand. Yeah. But once we realized that you've gotten in and this opportunity the mission has been accomplished, what does it feel like to realize, like, damn, I've done that? How does that make you feel? And do you think that way?
Not really, because I don't really think like that. Like, damn, I've got this, because there's so much more to do. There's so much further to go. I feel like I'm just like not at the beginning, but like at a teenage stage in my career. There's so much more to do. But I'm blessed, and I'm blessed to have those opportunities, and I'm super thankful that I've been positioned this way.
So you're basically saying the hunger that you have for success is insatiable.
Yeah. Pretty much so.
And that is what makes people like you have the drive that they do for success. I really believe that. But in any event, let me ask you this. What is your relationship like with Gucci? Because he's definitely an A-lister and within it by himself right now. What is that relationship like?
It's like a brother and sister relationship. Definitely. We have over a decade in, almost 2. So it's like we grew up together, like young adulthood. Like we grew up together. We made mistakes together. Like I had my first child. He had his children. He dated. I dated. Like we, you know what I'm saying? Like we just grew up together like brother and sister. So we have like a real family bond.
Let me ask you this. What you're doing right now, in my opinion, is breaking stereotypes. A, you're a Black woman. B, you're a single parent. Are you're a single parent, or are you married?
No, I'm not married, but I wouldn't call myself a single parent because
statistically speaking, I mean, I know.
I mean, I don't know. I can't say that because if that man ever hear that, he's like, you a single parent? Like, I'm not a single parent.
I know your baby daddy, so I'm not saying it like that. My audience doesn't.
I want my baby father to be crazy. Like, I ain't say that, G.
That's my man, though. Granville is my man.
That's trying to be messy. But yes, I'm a non-married woman.
Okay. And yo, Granville, you know I don't mean that like that. I'm talking statistically. I'm not talking about, another way. But just with those odds, you've managed to break the odds and change the narrative for that stereotype. How hard was that to do, having a baby and still?
What? I think that it's crazy that you said that because I don't want to get on here and be like, because I like to represent myself as a feminist type of person, right? But I think a lot of times like those are excuses, right? Mm-hmm. I don't feel like there's an excuse just because you have a child that like you can't accomplish your goals. Mm-hmm. Like there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. Because when I was pregnant, I would still be doing business and traveling until I couldn't travel. Mm-hmm. I was breastfeeding, I was pumping, and you know what I mean? Right. And leaving milk and this and that. And, so like, I always feel like there is an option if you are driven. Like you can't like have a child and be like, oh, it's because I have a kid. Like I couldn't. Nah, that's a cop out.
I mean, but there are a lot of women who feel that way. And I think that what you can do is
I get it.
You're the motivation to that. So it's like I'm pro women and I understand the struggle, but then I also understand that there are exceptions. Do you feel that you're an exception or you just feel that you're driven?
Yeah, 1,000%. I don't know if I'm an exception. I'm just an alpha person. So I feel like if I was a man I would still be the same. Like this soul that I have, this one is just a driven one. You know what I'm saying? So I don't use excuses to legitimize failure. Like that's not an option.
Right. And that's definitely some New York shit. And I definitely respect that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we don't just like, it doesn't matter what the odds are, what you're going through, you still have to do that. But a lot of people don't accept that. And like, why do you think that is with our people? Why do you think society puts out the narrative that, you're black, you have a child, if you're out of wedlock, you're a single mother, you're kind of like a loser. And overall, I'm not saying all women, but overall, people accept that. Why do you think that's such an accepting mentality?
I mean, it's like a piece of propaganda that I feel like has been put out, right? Because I know a lot of people that were raised by single parents, especially growing up in the 80s and 90s or whatever. Like that was like almost every household. And parents had to go out to work, and I think those children that came from that time just either they sank or swam, right? Because we had a lot of responsibility, like a lot of time on our hands, not like these kids here. Like now it's like if you have a 12-year-old, you can't leave your 12-year-old home alone. Man, I was 5 years old. I had a key to my house. You know what I'm saying? I had to get off the bus,
right?
Go to my house, open the door, sit there, make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or grilled cheese or, you know what I'm saying? Whatever.
I remember them days.
Dog or whatever, right?
Right.
And wait for your grandmother. At that time, everybody was raised by their grandmother. I don't know.
Right. Everybody black.
Everybody black.
Exactly.
You wait for like your grandmother to come home or your mother or your aunt or your uncle or whoever, but you held it down.
Yeah.
And let you have burnt down the house by the time before your parents come home. Man, you would want to burn up with that house.
Yeah.
I know you was praying that you burnt it, you burnt down with it. It's just like we had a lot more sense. And in some sense, I talk to you all the time, like about kids and all of this. It's like, I feel like the struggle really just the pressure and the struggle really just breeds, like diamonds and roses out of concrete and whatnot. Like it just does. Like, I think the lack of, drive and hustle and responsibility that the children have now are just making them weak and fucking weird as hell.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that because they're pushing a bunch of narratives that the older people, we don't necessarily agree with. But let me tell you something. With that thing that you just said, and when I say thing, I mean the mentality and the way you speak, it would suggest, and understand what I'm saying with this, and you tell me if you agree or not, it would suggest that being the strong black woman that you are in entertainment or just in general, that you'd be a bitch. Is that true?
That I'd be a bitch?
Yes, because you know people who have strong wills and are driven like you, most people are intimidated by and they call them a bitch, especially with women. Would you agree with that?
I mean, like, yeah, you could say that I'm a bitch, like if that's what, a weak person would say that, right? It's not that I'm a bitch, right? It's that I'm assertive and I just don't have a lot of time for a lot of bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It's not that I'm a bitch. It's just like I'm assertive. I know what I want. Like if we're having a conversation, I'd like for you to get to the fucking point. You know what I'm saying? Like I just don't have a lot of time for bullshit, but that's only because at a certain stage in your life, like certain things are important. Right now, I've realized the older you get, you realize your worth, and my time is just severely important to me. So I just don't have a lot of time to like fiddle faddle and just engage in bullshit and gossip and, you know what I'm saying?
I get it.
Fuckery. I just am not with that. So, I mean, if that's a bitch, then please call me queen bitch of the universe. Like that. Like put a title on it. Like give me more than just bitch. Bitch is too average, you know?
Right. I get it. But I'm just saying that's intimidating to especially men. When a lot of men can't deal with strong-willed women, especially black women.
And then they're weak. That's a weak man.
And
Only a weak man will feel intimidated by that because you and I interact all the time. And I mean, we go at it like brother and sister all the time. Like, you know how we are. But I also, there has to be a balance because you also have to know how to acquiesce to a man. Like when you're right, you're right. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not the type of woman that thinks that, oh, a strong woman doesn't need a man. Absolutely need a man.
Really?
We're a pair in life. Absolutely. 1,000%.
Really? Wow.
1,000%, I believe that.
Wow. You really surprised me saying that. Well,
I 1,000% believe that.
Well, let's break that down for our female listeners. Why is it that you feel a woman needs a man?
Because we're a pair. We're like a puzzle piece, anatomy wise and every other way. You know what I'm saying? It is. Everything that a woman isn't, a man is, and everything a man isn't, a woman is. You know what I'm saying? It's just like that. I'm not saying that it has to be a monogamous pair per se, but I think that whether it's a brother, whether it's a cousin, whether it's an uncle, whether it's a lover, whether it's a husband, whatever it is, like a woman need men.
Okay.
Like just period.
And I think men need women as well. But now I'm going to put you on the hot seat. If women need men, why ain't you married to Granville?
I don't know that you have to be married to a man, but Granville's still like super duper part of my life. Like he gets on my nerves a lot of times, right?
Right.
Because that's what happens when you know someone your whole life, right?
Right.
But I definitely need him, right?
Right.
In a certain regard. You don't have to be in a romantic relationship to, so don't get what I'm saying misconstrued. I'm not saying that you have to be in a romantic relationship, but I 1,000% need him.
Right. And you know what? Yeah. I mean, I think that's a submissive attitude, and I just think it's a real attitude. But why is it overall that black women sometimes say the opposite? Like
again, it's a narrative that is pushed by the emasculation of the black man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like they're emasculating black men to a regard where women feel like, oh, I don't need him. Well, black women, statistically, they put out all these facts, all these statistics. Black women make more money than black men. Black women are the head of household. Black women have this, right? So after a while, you'll start to believe that, wait, let me date outside my race, or maybe, I don't need this man, or maybe like because I'm the breadwinner and all these things. But there's so many other emotional things, and different human things that you need a man for. Just it doesn't always have to be based on finance, right? So right. It's just the narrative that people build. I think that is built in society.
Right. Well, this is how I feel. I think the first teacher of a black man is a black woman, but that black woman must be properly educated herself in order to teach another black man. You have a son, correct?
1,000%. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell me what you instill in your son. Tell me, how do you make him, what do you put inside of him to respect women?
Well, he has a sister, because I have a daughter that's older than him. So he's like surrounded by women, and the women are strong and this and that. But I try to show him like a lot of love. Like, I respect him. He should respect me. Like, he opens doors for me. He's 6. He's about to be 7. Like, he'll go like, Mom, or you seem tired, or if you're tired, we don't have to do this. We'll wait. Like I not treat him like he's my man or anything like that, but I allow him to cater to me just like I cater to him, right? Because he has to know how to love his mom first and his sister second, right? Because he met her second, in order to love another woman, like when he becomes an adult. Like, so I don't teach him like to disrespect women. I don't get into that, like, oh, don't ever hit girls or any of that, because that's illogical. Like, if somebody busts him in the head with a pipe and she's a female, like, that's ridiculous, right? So I don't teach him that, but, you know, I just teach him to be non-aggressive, like, try to use his words, you know, stuff like that. Just to be a good person in general. Like, he has a best friend. His best friend's parents are from Australia. So I just try to keep him in sports and keep him in activities that keep him grounded and that teach him discipline and stuff like that.
Right.
And like I just told you a while ago before we went on record, like, try to monitor what he watches on television and always let him know, like, I brought you here. I will definitely take you out. Like, 1,000%. Like, know that, you know, like, because if you allow your kids to be a level of disrespect to you, then they're going to disrespect other people in society. Right. And, you know, you don't know what they're going to get from that. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. So do you take that style of parenting into the workplace, meaning as caring and concerning as you are and nurturing as you are, how does that translate being senior vice president of A&R for Republic Records? Tell me what your job description is.
Well, an A&R is artist and repertoire. That's what it actually stands for. Most people don't know. Okay. So basically, you're the artist manager or representative in the building because you're the one that signs the artist, right? So you're supposed to sign them and help them move through the building and like get to their greatest potential, put out records, meet producers, you know, sometimes even connect them with management if they have a disparity in management or lawyers and stuff like that. Basically, you're their manager inside of the building, which came quite natural to me because I, you know, can't come from management. So, and yes, I keep that style of management. My style of management is like very different than most people because I think I go way beyond just a business aspect, but it's in my nature. So I don't go against it. And it's, you know, it's worked so far. So, it does come with a lot of headaches and heartache though, but, you know.
Do you attribute that? Do you attribute that to the style of being a mother, the nurturing part?
Yeah, but I was in management before I was a mother, but Amina is the Prophet Muhammad's mother. So maybe it's just predestined, you know, it's in my name, it's in my nature.
Okay. So also speaking of your name and speaking of your nature, I noticed that you said it comes with heartaches and heartbreak sometime. Give us a description of a heartache that you've personally experienced.
I think like the first time like you lose a client or something ends up badly with a client, especially being a woman. I don't know if it's especially being a woman because I've had male managers tell me the heartbreak is the same. When you put like so much of yourself, because a lot of being a good manager, it's like almost like your client comes before anything, right? It's just like it's like a marriage, right? Because you're in it together. So sometimes, like if the client is going down another path and you just like honestly in your heart, soul, spirit feel like that's the wrong path, or you know, or you have an irreconcilable difference or whatever and it just ends up badly or poorly, like that's hurtful. It's just like a breakup.
I do know a secret that I don't know if most people know, and if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to, but you did have a relationship similar to that with Nicki Minaj, correct?
Yeah, we had a relationship.
What happened with that? Are you cool with her? Are you still a part of that? Do you guys still have that relationship?
I don't think, it's not that we're not cool. It's just like she left Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't go with her. and she went one way and I went the other way. Like, I was still young at that time. Like, I was like kind of interning with Deb, kind of. Not really interning because I was building her booking office. And that's when Nikki came down here and, Nikki was there or whatever. We have very similar backgrounds. We're both Caribbean. We both are from South Jamaica, Queens. We're around the same age. So, like, we just clicked and, I kind of acted as like her road manager, her liaison, like in her early days, like doing all of that stuff. But I can't blame Nikki for, like, the reason why I didn't stay with her is just because I chose to stay working and being loyal to Deb because I'm just a loyal person. So when she felt like the jig was up and, she was ready to move past Deb, she asked me to join her and I didn't because I met her through Deb. So that was just that.
But let me ask you, do you think sometimes loyalty can make a person stupid? And the reason why I'm
100%. That was the dumbest shit I ever did. I was like, this is some stupid ass backwards, dumb ass shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, after a while, like, I was like, this was the worst. It wasn't the worst decision I ever made, but it definitely was a bad one, right? But then everything happened for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, I mean, I still had Buff. I had things to do. I had things to do for real. But like Nikki would definitely be like a full-time commitment because she was leaving Atlanta. She was going to Miami to go mess with Bird and all of this stuff. So, I mean, it would just have led me down a different path, which I don't know if I would still be doing this. Oddly enough, Nikki ended up at Republic where I'm at. So, and, I just helped put out her Beam Me Up Scotty. We put it out for commercial release. And, I was integral in that because I knew her at the time, so I could help track down, the producers and all that stuff at that time. So now we're definitely cool. We definitely don't have an issue or anything. It's just our lives took us down two separate paths because she went left and I went right, But I love her to death. I still watch everything that she does and you know what I'm saying?
But you guys still ended up in the same place. But before that happened, your loyalty, and she left and you decided not to go. Did you ever sit back and think and look at something and be like, damn, I should have fucking left?
Nah, 1,000%. No, I do, but then like even Granville he always says like, it's just like one door closes and another one opens. Like, because if I would have left with Nikki, then, I wouldn't have been there for Thug. You know what I'm saying?
So what's that like with Young Thug? And let me just say this as a disclaimer. Sometimes I say things and people take it the wrong way. So I'm not saying anything accusatory. I'm not saying anything foul. I'm just saying from an observation. At times, he looks weird as fuck. What's going on with Young Thug, with the dresses and the this and that? Is that a style? Is that a gimmick? What's going on with that?
No, that's not. It's not a style or gimmick. Like Thug, first off, just for context, Thug grew up with 11 brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? More sisters than brothers and this and that. They came from a big family where they just had to make do. Mama Duck did her best, of course, to raise all those children. Right. And they're like a real tight-knit unit and that type of thing. Like Thug is always, when you have, I feel like a lot of families, do you know, like Madonna has like 8 brothers and sisters or something like that? Like the Jackson have all those things. Like, so when you have like a big family, like, there's going to be a breakout somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes there'll be a death, like someone's going to pass away, unfortunately. Cause it's 10 or 11 people. Like, so out of every 10 people, just like in regular statistics, it'll be like, oh, one person out of every 10 person dies from cigarette smoking or something like that. Right. So it's just it's a statistic. So he was the Michael Jackson, or he is the Michael Jackson of his particular family. And then he has brothers and sisters that are all like talented and that are in music and all of that. But I mean, his weirdness is just, it's not weird. It's like his eclecticness is part of his appeal. You know what I'm saying? Because if he his pants were tight. Now everybody else's pants was tight. Okay, well, he was wearing the shirt looked like a dress. Now everybody's wearing it. You know what I mean? So I think that he just had a clairvoyancy or some sort of like premonition or clear vision where he was just before his time. Right. He still is. Right.
But I don't know, it kind of sends out mixed signals and mixed messages because of today's...
I mean, if you're that close-minded of a person.
Okay.
Right? Because you know, in the rock and roll world and in other aspects like Prince or whatever, like, you know, and there's a bunch of other people like icons, right?
Right.
That did things that people felt like were out of the norm, but that doesn't, especially when it comes to like his sexual orientation and stuff. Like Thug also has 6 kids and 4 big mothers. You know what I'm saying? So It's not that. It's just his choice of expression. You know, like I've been at photo shoots with him and I might have a throw on like an Afghan that he thinks is fire. And he's like, you know what I mean? Let me get that Afghan. You know what I'm saying? It's a woman's Afghan, but this shit looks fire what he has on. So it's really that. It's about the moment and the mood and the fashion and what he saw in that. Like, it's not as deep as people are making it. Like, just because you want to do one thing does not make you something else.
Right. Now I'm just saying from the outside looking in from a common
I get it.
A common
and
view.
Especially from you are from a different time.
I am.
And you look at things differently, right? So
I do.
And now we see that everything has changed. So, and he's part of that change.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I guess I understand. But I mean, he's part of the change for the new era, new generation, because I'm not wearing no skinny ass pants. I don't care who wearing what. Like, that's on them.
You're going to wear oversized jeans. I get it.
It ain't oversized, but I need room. You know,
you need room, but they don't got to be like super big. Like, come on.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just me. And again, because you hit it right on the head. I'm an older guy. Let's move on to another artist that you have, Pee Wee the Long Way. Pee Wee the Long Way is he a primarily Atlanta-based artist, or how is his recognition and what is his music like?
Yeah, he's just in Atlanta. He is he's very lyrical. Like, I remember Gooch one time went on record saying like Pee Wee is one of the most lyrical artists that come out of Atlanta. He's just content with, he doesn't want the machine to change who he is. Like, you know, he has 2 beautiful daughters. He has his wife or his woman. And, you know, he's just not into like the big machine type thing. So he has a very core fan base. He's been doing it for a decade. He's super successful. He makes more money than really most of the artists that you know that are signed, because he gets every dollar because he owns his publishing, and he gets every dollar that, you know, from the music that he puts out. So he's doing well. You know what I'm saying? He's a street dude, and he has a specific vision for himself, and he's just content with staying inside of that vision.
What about Uzi Vert?
Uzi's a rock star. Uzi's from Philly originally. Dope kid, good family. He is just they would call him emo. They call his music emo because he like spills his emotions in his music.
Okay.
Right? So I mean, just interesting. Again, I met him through Thug. And he's another person that came up under Thug, which came up under Gucci. So it's just like a revolving door here in Atlanta. It's just like a running snowball. It's like a snowball effect.
Right.
So yeah, it's dope. Uzi's dope. He's very passionate, very emotional, but still concise. He knows what he wants, and he's like, everything that he puts out as far as like his marketing and the imagery and all of that stuff is of his own making. So I feel like that's dope. So with him, it's like really just being here for support and doing what he needs me to do, and like trying to help him cultivate the imagery that comes out of his brain. You know what I mean?
I get it. And that brand, that style of a young Thug and a little Uzi Vert seems to be the brands that are winning. You are a native New Yorker. What made you make the transition from New York to Atlanta?
Well, I came to Atlanta because my mom moved to Atlanta before she moved to Jamaica, because she lives in Jamaica, West Indies.
Right.
But she stopped here because her brother, my uncle, lives here. And so I went to college here and I stayed because it's just a different type of living here. You know, it took me out of, you know, like living in Queens, you know, real close quarters on top of people. Atlanta had space. It just, you know, and then just my Queens upbringing, my New York upbringing allowed me to flourish in Atlanta. So I was like a shark in a in a pond, opposed to being a shark in the ocean.
Exactly. Let's get into the artist money. Today's artist makes a hell of a lot more money than the older artists.
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
There's a lot more opportunity. There's a lot more opportunity and there's a lot more competition. So the labels have to be competitive in their deals. The artists are getting smarter. There's tons of different ways to put out music. There's just not one stop shop. There's so many ways to get recognition to all these DSPs. When I mean the DSPs, I mean the streaming services. There's so many things. There's, SoundCloud, there's Apple, there's Tidal, there's, Spotify, Apple Music. There's all these different things, all these different ways. There's Empire, there's, all these distribution services, United Masters. So there's so many different ways to break in the industry. There's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's TikTok, there's Twitch, there's Reddit, there's all of these different ways. So you have all these people that have these opportunities to be heard and to be seen and to market themselves. So there's just tons of ways to do that. And now with branding and with urban music being the primary music, which is different because pop music was more prevalent. Remember back in the day, VH1 would be all Madonna and all this type of thing. But now that Black music is the prevalent music, it's the music that makes the most money, the tables have turned. So we are able to name our price.
With that being said, with all of the variety of ways to make the money, how hard is it for actual record label to make it? Because you have a hell of a roster at Republic Records. So how are you guys getting around that? What are you guys doing different than
Republic is the Yankees. Republic makes, if you're trying to get to a superstar level, you still need a label.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just a firm believer in that. There's certain things when it comes to syncs, right? Synchronizing your music and getting it in movies and video games and TV shows and all this different airplay and overseas and cutting vinyl and all this. It's almost impossible to do that unless you have an infinite budget if you're independent.
Right.
So you need, if you want to be Drake or Taylor Swift or Ariana Grande or Nicki Minaj, you need a label.
Right. I see you guys also have Amy Winehouse is on your roster. What is it like having those kind of people? Says Amy Winehouse is one of your artists.
Yeah, Amy Winehouse is God Rest the Dead or whatever. She's an artist. She's their artist and acquired her catalog. So, that's dope.
And she has a cult following. That's why that name stuck out to me because I know that she...
1,000%.
Yeah, she had a tragic, so she reminds me of a Lady Gaga or, she's in that mind frame. So your record label is diversified, correct? Mm-hmm. What is that like for you?
It was definitely a transition to coming from management to see exactly how the label works because generally in management, we're bitching at the label, why this can't come out? Where's these assets? Where this, that, and the third? And that's the reason why I actually took the job. Shout out Naeem. Naeem kind of, not forced me, but massaged me into getting inside of a building. Mm-hmm. But it was a great thing. And I've had a great experience at Republic. Monty is fantastic. Avery's fantastic. Wendy, Ben, everybody there, Rappo, all these people, they're dope people, and the reason why they're dope is because Monty and Avery come from being entrepreneurs themselves, because Republic is the only label on UMG where the founders still own the company. They still, it's their company. They made Republic and they still run it. You know what I'm saying? So they have an entrepreneurial spirit. So they are very into letting you flourish and be yourself inside of their building. So if people don't know that Cash Money has been in business with Republic for decades.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And you never saw or no one knew that Republic was the wheels turning Cash Money, because Monty's not like that. He and Avery and the whole crew, they're into you being an entrepreneur and not just being like, oh, this is all Republic. Like that's not their thing. So it's a good place to be if you, EXO is over there, which is Weekend Sting and all of that. Like they have a lot of things. Taylor Swift's company out of Tennessee or whatever, like all of that is at Republic, but they let them, well, they've agreed, they're partners, right? So they let them run independently. And I think that's a dope thing.
I think so too. So let me just say, I'm a struggling artist. This is a hypothetical situation. I'm a struggling artist. I'm trying to get on. Who would I see and how would I be able to get on at Republic Records?
We have a subsidiary called Imperial. And an Imperial is where I feel like a struggling artist would want to start instead of going to like coming straight to Republic, because Republic is like when you're ready for prime time.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So Imperial is where we would do like the artist development type cultivating type thing where you would come there first and then you could upstream to Republic.
Okay.
And I think that's a smart way. A lot of labels have it, like Caroline to Capitol, and I think Caroline is at Capitol or whatever. But there's a lot of companies that have like APG at Atlantic, like where you could work your way up. You know what I mean?
Okay. Who are some? I think, in your opinion, who are some of your stronger urban artists in Republic?
We have a bunch of urban artists at Republic.
Strong, and your favorites. Strong
my
is
favorite. I don't know if I can say favorites, but I mean,
maybe not favorites.
Everybody's there. Like The Weeknd's there, Drake's there, Nicki, and everybody at Cash Money is there, including Wayne. Little Tekka is there. Coi Leray is there. We have a bunch of things. I have like a trap rock group called City Morgue. They're there. JPEG Mafia is there. We have a bunch of stuff.
But one of the names that you mentioned, Drake, I would imagine he would probably, I would think from the outside looking in, he would be the strongest artist. Is that a fair assumption?
I mean, he's the strongest artist in the world.
Right.
Artist on Republic. Like, he's one of the strongest artists in the world. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there's him, there's Adele, there's, you know what I'm saying? There's people that are just like anomalies. Like, yeah, he's one of those.
So what does Amina listen to in her private time?
What I listen to all kind of shit. I listen to Sade. I listen to reggae music. I listen to a bunch of pop music because I grew up with VH1, so I'm a pop girl. I listen to Latin music. I listen to rock music. I love Stain, Fuel, Guns N' Roses. I listen to everything. I listen to jazz music. I love Kenny G. I love instrumental. Sometimes I'd like listen to instrumental music. I like orchestras. I played the clarinet when I was younger and the piano. So, I mean, I like all kind of music. I'm a music lover. Music is like the soundtrack to people's lives.
It is.
You know how, like, if you want to be depressed, like I'll put in Sade, go sit in the bath. If you want to be hype, you know what I'm saying? I might listen to fucking Youngbloods and the Lil Jon. Like, it's anything. Like, I'm all over the place. I love trap music. So if I want to be in trap mode, I might put on Pooh Shiesty. Like, Pooh Shiesty made me feel like I'm just going to go rob a bank type shit. You know what I'm saying? Or listen to Gooch or something like that. You know, if I'm in like a melodic, like, like kind of smooth mood, I might put on Thug or something like, it's whatever. I'm all over the place.
But let me ask you this. Do you think there's an age limit to listening to certain music? For example, do you think someone like, an older guy, if you've seen him listening to Pooh Shiesty or the Young Thug, would you look at him funny?
Nah, it's the mood you're in. Like, I feel like music is for all ages. I mean, adult ages. I'm not going to say children, because some children can be negatively influenced sometimes by music if they don't understand like the context, right? So let's talk about adults only.
Okay.
I want to make that clear because I have kids, so I'm a mom on here.
Okay.
But like for adults, I feel like I can find you a Young Thug song you like, even if that's not your genre of music. I can bet you $1,000 I can find you a Young Thug song that you like. You know what I'm saying? I can find you a Lil Uzi song that you like. Even if you don't listen to them, I can find you a Little Pump song that you like. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I can find you like a song from people that you wouldn't think that you would like. But there's something for you in there. You know what I mean? Because you're a human and you go through human emotions. So I can find you a record from almost any artist that you would like.
So why is it that you think people feel like when you get to a certain age limit or age group that you shouldn't listen to certain artists? Like the general perception is, you're too old for that. You should be listening to jazz or you should be listening to gospel. Like they just...
I mean, and at certain times, like listen to gospel on Sundays, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Listen to jazz when you're cleaning the house. Like, if you're working out and you need something upbeat, you might want to listen to Flow Rider or something that, you know what I'm saying, that has a different 808 snare or deep drum or something like that. Like, I feel like people shouldn't be. So people, I feel like now are just like, they're closed-minded and too open-minded all at the same time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's like people are just confused.
I think so too. And I think there are certain narratives that are being pushed off. And I think that if you don't agree with some of those narratives, that you're ostracized. I'll give you a good example. When you say open-minded, I think the LGBTQ community has come along fiercely. And it's to each his own to do what you want. But now I think it's just something that is being put inside of people's faces, whether they want to see it or not. And if you complain about it, then you're being accused of being closed-minded and you're attacked. And I think that is really something that is being pushed heavily towards children. Do you agree? And if so, or if not, whichever way, tell me how you feel about it.
LGBTQIA in particular.
What is IA?
Or just intersex and asexual.
I don't know about all that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, you definitely put me on the spot. All right, so here's the thing. I'm like a person, I'm pro-choice, right? It's whatever it is that you think is convenient for your household, right? I think that people have to stop letting society parent their children and run their household. It's whatever it is that you feel like is conducive for your style of living. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not influenced by what goes on the internet or in society. So a lot of times, I'm super opinionated. We sit around and shoot the shit and talk shit about a lot of things, right?
Right.
But like, the people could just be quiet. Like if you think that your opinion is yours, right? If it's your opinion, you don't have to share it with the internet or social media. You can just, like have a friend, like get a friend, you like go out and have dinner and have a friend and have these intellectual conversations and discuss and like air, how you feel about things. It's not for the world. Like your opinion, if you have children or if you have a household and you can share it with the people in your household, that's one thing. It's not, for the masses. It's like, there's a lot of ways that I feel about a lot of things, Me Too movements, LGBTQIA, things like that, Black people, white people, politics, whatever. But just because of my station in life, I don't choose to like share those thoughts, right? Because they're my private thoughts. Like it's fine for you to think something. You don't have to convince people to think your way. So I'm just on that type of time.
I mean, and I get that, and that makes sense. That's very rational. But at the end of the day, you're right. People do have the right to feel the way that they'd like to feel. However, I just think sometimes when you're silent, they say silence is consent, but silence is also underground. So as long as a person is afraid to say how he really feels or what he thinks, I don't think we'll ever have a change. I would prefer that a person express to me exactly what it is they feel, no matter how they say it, because I can get blunt honesty and I can know how to deal with it.
You're not the masses, right?
True.
So everyone can't handle people's opinions on certain different things, or, it's just my choice not to do it and here's the reason. The reason why I don't do those things is because, let me try to find a nice way to say this.
No. Say it the way it is. Don't do that.
I believe in self-preservation and I believe in like my family unit and things like that. So I don't want to do anything that could negatively affect like my children or anybody that's close to me that I love. So my opinions are extra. You know what I'm saying? Like my opinions are like, you know how I am. Like I'm not an overly sensitive person, but I do have a sensitive side. But like, so a lot of things like, you know, it's just like, for instance, like Boosie, right? Like if Boosie says things like they ready to crucify him, put him on a stake, this is then a third, but it is really his opinion. And it's just sometimes no one asked him for this opinion. So sometimes he crucifies himself unnecessarily, right? Just because he wants to just put his thoughts out there because he feels a need to share his thoughts with the world. Like, I don't feel a need to share my thoughts with the world. I have enough loved ones and people around me that if they ask me a question or if we're having a conversation that I can share my thoughts. I don't need to blast it for the masses because I'm not willing to be crucified or put on a stake for that. Because, you know, like you do these things and you're doing it, not saying in vain, because yeah, it does make a difference once you're dead, buried in the ground, but I don't want to do that.
I mean, and I get that, but what that does is it makes those that are going to say something back to you bullies, because what they're doing is they're silencing you. So the same people who were once...
I mean, but it's a choice, because I could. I could say whatever I want. You
exactly.
I don't give a fuck. I could say whatever I want, right? It's just like me, like I told you, I'm a realist, right?
Right.
Me saying these things, is it going to change the narrative of the world? Probably not. Not like right this second, right? Because like thoughts are like assholes. Everybody has them, right? So a lot of thoughts that you think, it's not that nobody thinks them. It's just that nobody says them, right? So I don't know that I'm the person to like go on the front line and be the advocate for anything in particular, because I'm flawed and I'm moody and I'm human, and I have a lot of different thoughts and a lot of different feelings about a lot of different things at a lot of different times. Like if you ask me something about specific things that happen in the LGBTQIA community before I had a son, I might tell you something different. Like just because I only had a daughter, right? So it changes the experience. But me being with an African father and a Jamaican and Cuban mother and these things, like, you know, just from upbringing, the way we were raised, different things, right? And having a son now, like I may have a different opinion. Right. So, you know, that's why I'm saying like it's all relative. So I just keep certain things to myself.
But I think one of the things that people forget is that honesty is honest. And at the end of the day, a lot of people don't like the truth.
Nobody wants people to be honest. When you're honest and it's not popular opinion, you know, and that's just how it is in life. It's not just with any particular facet of life. Things that are not popular opinion are frowned upon, period.
Exactly.
That's just how it goes.
Exactly. And I think those kind of people are frowned upon as well. And I do think that there's a difference with certain types of people. For example, like New Yorkers, they say are shrewd and harsh, because you might just they're going to tell you what it is. Like blunt, frank, for the most part, they're a different type of people. And a lot of people can't handle that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's not New Yorkers. It's a certain type of person.
You think so?
Like they could literally be from anywhere. It's like I said, because I know people like that from the South. I know people like that from the Midwest. I know people like that. It's just the delivery is different, right? Yeah. In New York, it's our delivery that makes people uncomfortable a lot of times.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, because if I could say things say the same thing, but just choose a different manner in which to say it.
Right.
And people will accept it.
Right.
Differently, whether if it's my first mind, how it would initially come out of my mouth, which I tell you all the fucking time.
But your
delivery, it's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it.
And I agree, but that's just who I am. I believe in just being brutally honest, and I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, or I'm not trying to say anything derogatory or be.
You're not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but you don't give a fuck if you do. So that's the difference.
And you know what? Maybe perhaps there's some truth to that.
It's not perhaps. It's 1,000%. Shabazz, like, so people that don't know, anybody that listens to this, like, this is an interview, like, with my brother, for real. So all this extra shit, even the way this stupid voice that he has on that he's doing, like in this interview, is cap. Like all this shit is like not what it is. Like you are not like, oh, I'm impartial and I don't mean to put you on the spot. You absolutely want to put me on the spot, and you absolutely are deliberate in your presentation. That's just the way you are. So like all these people that don't know you that may feel like this is the case, it's definitely not.
But you may know, and you know what? There might be truth to that because you may know the real person. But in the way I act and what I'd say to you is totally different. It's just like a man with his girl. You know, like she can say something to me that a regular girl that I'm not in a relationship couldn't say. She could chastise me. She could tell me whatever because we have that rapport and that relationship's gone. So I'm going to be more open and more prone to listening and taking the chastisement from her as opposed to someone else. It's the same thing in a brother-sister relationship. It's the same thing in a relationship where you know someone. But for the most part, you don't really want to be like that because you already know how you really are. So if I already know I got a slick mouth or I think a certain kind of way, like I'm already guarded as to even talking to you because I don't want you to take it the wrong way because as soon as you say something, I can't help it. It's just going to come out. And I might say,
exactly.
But that's just the way it is. But that's because when people have done, when you come up in the environment that we come from, which is New York, and you come from a hustler's environment, and it's not because you're the best hustler, it's because you had no choice but to hustle. Because niggas in New York will walk down 125th Street selling oranges now. You see that with Mexicans in different places. You might see them in Queens, or you might see them in Chicago. You might see them in Florida. They literally have 4 or 5 peeled oranges in a plastic bag walking up and down the car, selling it for $1. You don't see black people do that. But in New York, you'll see a black person selling oranges, and in your mind, you're like, what the fuck? But
or anything.
Exactly. Because it's the hustle. You have no choice. So when you come up in that type of environment, you become accustomed to that. So it's like I don't know how to explain it, but you know exactly what I'm saying. Now,
I get it.
I'm not saying it's right. It's just is what it is. And when you're older, you kind of get set in your ways, and you can see, just like you said earlier, you can see through the bullshit when it's coming, and you immediately have a no tolerance for bullshit because you've been there, done that. So
I've been there, done that.
Exactly. So we can relate on a lot of different levels. But listen, Amina, thank you very much for this interview. I think that it was informative, and I think it definitely motivates some women because I think you've accomplished some things that a lot of people haven't, including men, and that's to be commended. So at the end of the day, what would you like to say on behalf of Republic Records or just in general?
Definitely not on behalf of Republic, because, by the way, let me make this disclaimer. Anything that I've said today has nothing to do with Republic Records. It is not their opinion. It is always my opinion of these things. So that I'm very executive minded, right? So Universal is now a publicly traded company. So nothing that I'm saying has any relevance or responsibility on Republic Records. It's just Amina Diop and what I think about certain things. That is my disclaimer, because now I'm corporate. And bitch, I have to act corporate. So
and that's a hell of an accomplishment. And I'm proud of you for being that way. Even though sometimes you piss me off, because you know what? Like,
oh God!
You don't always make me your brother. I'm like the brother that sometimes me. Like you'll put somebody else over me, and that's your brother or some shit. But Shabazz is like a sometimes
no, it's
brother.
Not. Don't get me to talking shit on your fucking ass, make you look crazy. Okay?
So we're gonna stop before you start talking shit. Mina, I appreciate you. Thanks for being on the show, and you have a good night.
Okay, you too.
All right, bye-bye.